to the various grounds, and the details are advertised in the football record on the day of the game. And all are welcome at the unofficial Members Social Club in Melbourne, the Beaconsfield Hotel. Head along to catch up with like-minded supporters at the Eagles Home Away from Home. Coming up on the 20th of August, the Emu Export Banquet Auction at the Burswood Convention Centre showroom. It promises to be a fun evening with the chance to pick up a great buy during the tender and main auction. Book early to avoid disappointment. Finally, the 1997 raffle is now underway. Tickets are only $2, and among the great prizes, the world's largest TV and an Asian Explorer holiday. Call the club for details on these. I'll see you next time. Club News. Bye.
You've stepped into the future. This is Optus Vision.
The nightmare which is footy tipping continued as round 16 came and went. With every side playing each other for the second time around, you'd think you could draw a line through prior form. Think again. 7 of the 8 results were reversed. Fremantle, the only side making it 2 from 2 against this respective rival. And for some tipsters, life just gets harder and harder.
Our esteemed Premier wasn't the only one struggling on what turned out to be another intriguing round of football. Thanks for joining us on Football Feedback. The AFL's Chief Executive, Wayne Jackson, joins us tonight. We'll be working through a range of issues confronting the game. Justin Madden hasn't exactly been media shy in this, the week of his retirement, but it wouldn't be right if we didn't have our chance to thank him for the memories, and he too will be on the show. We've got a number of controversial incidents to talk our way through, and there's the usual element of the bizarre, just for good measure. But before any of that, let me introduce Dermot Brereton. Did you ever tangle with Big Harry in your playing days?
Yeah, I did actually, a couple of times. I yelled at him a couple of times. Well, obviously he going the other way. Yelled at him from off the centre half forward square. Look out, Harry, don't turn around this way. I'll split you in two. And he never bothered. I would have had to jump to get him. So, but yeah,
you split him long ways or halfway up?
Yeah, cut him in half. But no, very, very good player. And 95 premiership, the last really good season for Harry. And in no small way due to him, the Carlton was so good that year.
Gary Lyon with us again. The back is holding up, but alas, the Demons' winning run came to an end.
Yes,
Captain.
all of one, wasn't it? And I did enjoy the week, in fact, but yeah, we were brought back to earth a little bit. I thought we were a bit disappointing yesterday, to be honest. I thought we perhaps should have had a little bit of momentum from the week before, but it wasn't to be, and we're back to the drawing board for us Demons. But we have the Pies this week, and the traditional foe always brings out the best in us, I hope.
Yeah, they do, mate. Thanks, mate. You're right.
And Rohan Connolly from the Sunday Age, and your boys didn't fare so well either in the battle for the Madden Cup.
No, it's been yeah, it was a great clash. That what was it, 14th against 15th or something? But real blockbuster, and it's just been a fantastic season for Essendon. And but I'd just like to warn you: do not get carried away with your mob, Tim. I think there are a lot of false airs and graces being sung around the MCG on Saturday night. They are not back.
Opposition wasn't too hot.
No,
you're saying.
I am.
Let's have a look at the ladder with 6 rounds to go before the finals, and Geelong have kicked away now. They're a game and a nice slice of percentage clear. At least I think we're going to have a look at the ladder. And Geelong, 4 points on the Bulldogs, a lot of percentage as well. And then it's a couple of games back to Adelaide, St Kilda, Brisbane and Sydney. Port Adelaide hanging in there, another win at home, but they do have a tough run home. And North Adelaide at the head, North Melbourne at the head of the bunch. It looks as though they're going to fight it out with West Coast and Carlton, although Hawthorn and Fremantle certainly there with the show. Pretty tough now for Collingwood, Essendon, Richmond and Melbourne.
First time that Western Bulldogs have lost 2 in a row, Tim, there for the year also. So I actually went with them again last week. I thought they played pretty well away from home. But Collingwood, gee, it just shows you that they are bullies when they do beat a team. They certainly do wipe the floor with them. 114% from only 7 wins. It's an amazing ratio to have there.
Now, 7 of the results from round 1 were reversed at the weekend, and it wouldn't be beyond the realms for something like that to happen again this week in round 17. Remember that last time Essendon beat Port Adelaide in Adelaide. I wonder if the Power could actually reverse that in what is a huge game for them at the MCG. Carlton and North is a blockbuster, the premiers of the last 2 years at Optus Oval. Great rivalry between the coaches of Hawthorn and Fremantle, who meet in a very big game. Stakes high for those two. The Bulldogs go to Sydney facing 3 defeats in a row. Adelaide hot favourites against Richmond. Then on the Sunday, as Gary mentioned, the Pies and the D's. The Eagles host Geelong. I wonder if the Cats can score a big win away. That's something they haven't really achieved this year. And St Kilda play Brisbane at Waverley Park. And of course the Lions have been the form team of the competition over the last 5 or 6 weeks. Let's now talk about what's happening at the tribunal tonight. Rob Gaylard is there. There was a striking charge, some wrestling charges, and also a kicking charge. Rob, what have you got to report for us?
Well, it's been a bit of high drama down here tonight, Tim, so far, because we're only into the second case at the moment because all the video links from Sydney and also over to Perth have been playing up. As you said, 5 wrestling charges. Jack Little would be in his element down here tonight, wouldn't he? 1 kicking and 1 striking charge. I can tell you the first case, Fraser Gehrig, as we have a look now, no charge to answer. It was thrown out. So Fraser Gehrig, on his 3rd virtual reportable incident so far this year, has got off here, and that's virtually been brought about for the simple fact that the goal umpire who reported him went and told the field umpire then told the player later on, which according to the rules is not the right way to report a player. Up currently at the moment, Tony Lockett and also who was reported for wrestling with Fraser Gehrig. Both players pleaded not guilty. I can tell you the video doesn't show perhaps what really did happen according to the umpire, and they've taken the umpire's evidence and the charge is sustained. That's all I can tell you at the moment. Although in evidence, Tony Lockett did say to Mr Busy that I held him down and I just say, don't get me angry. And Fraser Gehrig said, who am I to argue? And they got up straight away. So that charge will be handed down in a moment or two, and I don't blame Fraser for that. Jason Ball, he's going to plead not guilty as well too, in a charge that he wrestled with Jason Mooney. It's another wrestling charge. Mooney again is up for wrestling. And then Ron DiIulio will plead not guilty on the intentionally kicking charge against Darren Buick. Those players are up there at the moment, but I think it's going to be a pretty long night, boys, by the same token.
OK, thanks for that, Rob. Gee, we saw enough of that wrestling incident. It looked like a Roman orgy.
Well, the Swannies did win the game, and judging by that, there was 3 of them on top. There's no doubt in which way they like it. So, yeah, no, they won the fights as well.
They had the water boys running out the grapes to them.
They may very well have been doing the discipline thing, Dermot, because can you have a wrestler and a non-wrestler? If you don't want to get reported, you just throw your arms out and lay down.
It's very difficult.
It's the only way you can get off. So maybe the 3 of them are not guilty.
I remember Fitzroy getting into trouble a few years ago when 2 or 3 ran in to try and pull Lockett off it was Zanotti playing at full back, and apparently he was gasping for air, and 2 or 3 of their players tried to prise the big bloke away, and Fitzroy got done for wrestling. Weren't too pleased about that. We haven't had a look yet at Ron DiIulio and that kicking charge, or charge of alleged kicking against DiIulio, Darren Buick, the Essendon player involved.
Oh, I think that's pretty... I don't reckon there's a...
I reckon it's a bit more than alleged, just quietly.
No, that's reflexes. No, he hasn't meant anything, any malice.
It's a week though, isn't it? I mean, they've been regularly giving guys a week for using their foot to trip or...
Remember the great bit of footage over the weekend, Gary Hocking kicking that brilliant goal, how he blocked the ball with his foot, stuck it out. All he's done is mentally block his path and put his foot out there. I don't think there's any malice in it whatsoever. The same principle as Hocking.
He will get time.
You think so?
Thanks, Gary.
Yeah, I think pretty hard if he does.
It's a hard G, incidentally, Rohan. A leg, not a ledge. Now, you've got a bit of news on Peter Somerville.
Yeah, well, absolutely taken apart by Mark Porter on Saturday, but I guess you could claim maybe in part that was due to his injury. They thought that he may have re-broken the foot that he broke earlier in the year. That's apparently not the case. I was talking to Bruce Reid, the Essendon doctor, this afternoon. Somerville's had a CAT scan today, and it's shown that the foot actually isn't re-broken, so he'll be available for this week. Whether he gets selected, of course, is another matter, but he'll be available anyway.
Ooh, touch of sarcasm there, but things have turned for the Bombers. Not all their injuries are becoming really serious. Worst possible scenarios had tended to be the order of the day through most of this year.
That's true. Well, it's certainly true that this isn't an injury to one of the top 6.
That's a reverse of fate, isn't it? No, with Somerville. I remember his first game. He came in as an unknown and did a superb
against
job.
North Melbourne and got best on ground.
Absolutely.
And I must say that Porter's performance just took me right back to that. It was a real throwback.
You're a bit sour tonight. Now, Rob Gaylard does have some news from the tribunal, and it's about Tony Lockett. Rob.
Yes, thank you, Tim. Well, a couple of my colleagues have just walked past me, and I'll have to verify this for you, but the case against both players has found them both guilty. One match payment and 1/52nd of the match payments, which will be a lot for Tony Lockett, I dare say. I will confirm that, but that's the news hot from the tribunal.
If we can get the calculator out, a 52nd of... You're the only other player on that sort of money when you were going around. So that is a big fine. That is a thumping big fine.
There is allegations that big plugger Lockett is receiving... I mean, how they're talking about James Hird getting $500,000 a year, justifying with the crowds. And like, you think of how good Sydney's crowds are. They're saying that even if he is on that, James Hird, he is well short of the mark that Plugger's receiving this year. Now, he hasn't had a lot of airtime on the deck either. There's allegations that he is up around a figure that looks remarkably like 7.
Well, what's 1/52nd of 700,000, Dermot? Let's work it out.
You guessed that one.
Yes.
1/52.
That's about Melbourne's whole salary cap, isn't it?
Head spinning. I am coming back, Rohan. Don't worry about that. That is a more than substantial fine.
It's about... What is it?
Can you work that out for me?
It's a new hole. I reckon it's a new hole.
Incredibly difficult to do arithmetic in your head when you're on the air.
We go to a
14,000.
Someone's calculator.
Around the $14,000 mark. Yeah, that's a fine.
Now, a really interesting issue out of the weekend is the Matthew Richardson matter in the race down at Cardinia Park, and here is what happened. A provocateur in the crowd.
Yeah, well, I mean,
that kid motion to go to him first. This is the classic moron football supporter, still mouthing off. Now, look, you can never substantiate somebody giving somebody a slap over the ear, but geez, if I had been standing behind him in the crowd, I'd have cuffed that kid over the ear.
Absolutely. I mean, it's okay. I mean, you've been in that position. It's all right for us to take the high moral ground on this one, and he shouldn't have reacted. That's true. But speaking personally, I know what I would have done.
Left hand of the boy when Richardson comes back. He goes to lay a hand on Richo first. So look, Richo's come back, and obviously.
But if he wasn't there... He got nice and brave after Richo walked back up the race.
Oh, he's like the little dog on the other side of the fence yapping. You open the gate and it runs
I noticed
off.
actually the Black Bomber was having a quiet word to him afterwards and seems to be...
See, there it goes first.
Yeah, he doesn't get brave until the security men come to hold him back. That's when he gets brave.
Now, look, having given him a big spray, players surely have to be able to cop what comes their way verbally, don't they?
That is fair enough during the course of the game, but there are too many people in our society that thinks the bounds of morally sound behaviour are thrown out the window because there is a wire fence which comes up to there, and you're here, I can say anything I want to. Morally, you think the people think everything's thrown out the window. It's not. You're still a human being. You're standing there. I'm here, and there's a wire fence there. What gives me the right to insult you, no end, in a slanderous fashion? It is ridiculous. That kid deserved it.
More, Dermot, since I've been on this show. Very eloquently put.
Well, the Australian Cricket Board cracked down hard on Merv Hughes when he reacted to someone in the crowd.
He had a weapon, though.
He did, which he whacked into an advertising.
What's the recourse for that young lad, though? I mean, he surely could he be charged in the legal terms?
Well, he can't really, because I mean, it's every football supporter's right to go along and make a fool of himself.
From the ground.
But in all seriousness, I reckon the club ought to be at least making an attempt to find out who it was, and at the very least have a stern word in his ear.
Well, we'll give them another identikit picture of the culprit in the crowd.
Comes back to the racial vilification thing. I mean, the crowds have to be educated in that every bit as much as the players, and it's a similar deal here.
But players have to be educated to ignore it, surely.
Yeah, but once again, I mean, the heat of the battle is out, and you're insulting. So that, to me, that's like a situation. If you walk out of this studio tonight and somebody's standing out the front, there's probably people at home right now looking at my head saying, geez, I hate that Brett, he's a mongrel and all that. And you could be right, but if I walk out past them in 5 minutes' time and they walk past me and there's nothing between us, no medium of media, and they do the same thing, It's fair game.
Don't think anyone would do it to you, Dermy. Too nice a bloke.
It's a couple.
Let's get a quick reaction from Richmond football manager Brian Waldron today on this matter.
Yeah, now we spoke to him today, and obviously he's pretty disappointed with his reaction to what happened, and obviously, you know, he'd regret that reacting like he did, and he's got to understand that just comes with being a league player and a high-profile player at that.
What does the club think about that? Is that the end of it as far as the club's concerned?
Oh, certainly. I think the bigger issue is what happens with the race down there. Obviously, it's an exposed race, and whether it be Matthew Richardson or a reserves player in any team, I think being exposed and so close to the crowd is a problem down there, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Having looked at it, they've spent that much money on the stand. It's a terrific facilities,
yeah.
But they've missed that bit.
Yeah, I went to the MCG yesterday and had a look at their setup over there, and there is protection everywhere else, I think, and certainly you come up with Subiaco where they can be fairly vocal and you have got protection there. So I think Geelong and the AFL will look at that, and I mean, still in the end the players have to be responsible enough to just, you know, let those sort of incidents go by, but I think for the good of the game they probably need to put up some protective barrier there.
Come here.
Neil Baum with Brian Waldron today. It wasn't the bloke in the crowd, it was the race that was at fault.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to tell you a beautiful little story once. Terry Wallace got reported at the then Footscray ground, and he was coming up the race, and the charge was eventually withdrawn. He wasn't guilty, so, and Terry was shattered. He'd never been reported, very fair player. And coming up behind him was Russell Green, and some bloke had his head up, holding the wire, and poked his face through the wire, you know, and started yelling off, and he's got the loogie out at Terry, up at him as well, and Greeny's walked up behind and gone bang on the wire next to his head, and it went zzz, and the kid went like that, and he had the wire marks across the face, and it was a little bit strenuous, but it proved a very good point at the time, and I was third in line, and I thought that was worth a good chuckle at that time. It was lovely.
Well, there's another incident which has occurred over the weekend involving player and crowd, and it's David Schwartz. Now, this is during play, so is it different? And he has done what you or Russell Green, Terry Wallace did, or the bloke in the crowd
The bloke
did.
in the crowd did. Yeah, that's
But
not
he's
good.
actually let it out as well.
That's not good, but once again, it's a very isolated situation with where that fellow is. It's leaving no doubt to the imagination. It's not a crowd, it's a single person. Schwartzy's seen that. He hasn't thought of it as a crowd, he's thought of it as one person. He's at fault there, Schwartzy.
Yes, I can't really jump to his defence, much as I'd like to. I think he'd regret that, Tim.
I wonder, would there be some action, do you think, Rohan? No, remember Rene Kink got 6 weeks for spitting in the face of, admittedly. And I think Schwarter aimed to the side there by the look of it.
It was at the fence, it wasn't at the...
But I think if there's going to be some action taken against Matthew Richardson for the other one, they're going to have to do something to Schwartz for that, because I don't think there's much difference between the two.
Little bloke was the little dog running along the fence too, wasn't he? He did follow Schwarter along the fence there. It doesn't make it right. Doesn't make it right, that one. I mean, I will defend Richo. He was walking off the ground, minding his own business. Somebody was pretty callous. That one, he was out there, and fair game. I think Schwartzy knows and will learn from that.
OK, we've actually promoted Goal Umpire Corner in the program this week. It comes forward to the first segment because it does have such a huge following now, and the goal umps had some tough calls at the weekend. The Kingsley Hunter shot, which might have scraped the top of the post, is the one that's had the most publicity. Hard to tell.
I don't think he's confident there.
There's no doubt it hit it, but bad luck.
You reckon there's no doubt it hit it?
Yeah, there's no doubt it hit the post. Absolutely, in the reaction of everyone and the player himself, but you know, it's an isolated incident. Wait till we get done by 2 points when it happens to us, I suppose. But you got to make it blue every now and then.
Johnson pointed to the post from where he's standing next to Hunter there. Look, I suppose when in hindsight, 30 seconds to go, and Hudson had a shot on goal, which they were 7 points down, became a 6-point ball game. He eventually missed. But if they had been 2 points down, if the correct decision had been given, it might have added a bit more credence and a bit more nervous vibe to the kick from Hudson. He missed anyway, but yeah, could have put a different complexion on the game totally.
Quick reaction from Brian Royal today from the Footscray coaching panel.
Yeah, there's no doubt sometimes it could be critical on certain games, but no, I haven't really got any issues there. That, you know, you reckon the one goal umpire should be able to see it. He was right there. You know, there was 2 or 3 players who did see it. Some people in the crowd saw it as well. I think the media saw it. So why can't the goal umpire see it?
That was Brian Royal today. Now, there are a couple of others that we're going to have a look at, but just before that, the goal kickers, the leading goal kickers in the competition through the last 4 rounds, and there has been a changing of the guards. Stephen Silvani having been swung into attack, has been on fire. Jason Heatley doing great things. Had a bad day, actually, with his kicking against Hawthorn at the weekend. Kicked 4-7 or 4-8. Kingsley Hunter doing very well for the Dockers. Matthew Lloyd has been consistent. Cummings giving Port Adelaide a good season. And Tony Modra with 6 goals in a losing team up at the Gabba was good going. Now, here's another one that looks as though it did miss and was called a behind. Minton Connell. If you have a look at this slowly, you'll see the ball disappear behind the behind post momentarily, which would suggest that it was out of bounds. But these are the ones that are very hard for the goal umpire. I mean, the Hunter one he should be able to get because he doesn't have to move.
That's what we don't know, the Hunter thing. Looking up, sun, lots of little things perhaps happen, but that is a very hard one. You couldn't be too critical there. You expect the AFL player from there perhaps to get front
and this is even harder because if you have a look, there's the goal umpire over at far post, just in case he manages to kick the impossible goal, and yet suddenly he's got to call an out on the full.
That's a tough one. That's part of the, what would you call it, the anomaly of our game, I would suppose. But I'm happy with that. I kicked one against Western Bulldogs, Footscray 2 years ago, which was clearly a point, but thanks, mate. You gave it a goal.
Draw.
Yeah, beautifully. Yeah, it was too.
Goal umpiring is in tatters, Tim. I think we're in a real crisis situation. I think we need to establish a goal umpiring academy. And we've just got to fix up these problems. Either that or go back to the 4 goal umpires that Ron Barassi has been suggesting since before I was born.
3 would be better.
3.
Yeah, 1 for each gap.
I've got to make a suggestion to anybody who does go to the footy. When you watch your team run out in the ground, you watch the goal umpires come out, just watch them at the end of the ground as the game, lead up to the game comes. They actually warm up the goal umpires, and it is classic. They walk from side to side, point post to point post, and they practice looking up.
They could do it.
They go that way, and then they practice going.
Because they have to be able to write and look over the top of their scorecard at the same time. Very exacting science to them, you don't?
I reckon it's fantastic.
They are some of the most popular figures in Australian football around the world. They are better known around the world than any of you players. They're cult figures around the world. And I would welcome suggestions as to the appropriate sponsor for the new Goal Umpiring Academy. A raincoat manufacturer or Coles and Garrett?
They're magnificent.
Now, just before the end of this segment, we go back to Rob Gaylard for more news from the Tribunal.
Yes, it's been happening. Bill Laurie down here, actually. It's all been happening down here. In fact, what's happened, Jason Ball and Jason Mooney up on wrestling charges as well. The players' advocate has changed the plea of not guilty to guilty after the first case of Fraser Gehrig and Tony Lockett. I think that they've realised that there's not much point fighting Mr Busy tonight. Virtually what's happened, 1 match payment at 1/52nd of the base salary for both those players. Ashley Blurton and Shannon Grant also up on wrestling charges. Mr Busy also asked what their plea was. They said they were also going to plead guilty. He's, without any further ado, also fined them 1/52nd of their base salary and also 1 match payment. So, a bit like the checkout system down here at the moment. Tim, 5 items unless you get through a little bit quicker. I can tell you Ron DiUlio has just gone into the tribunal, and that's the final case tonight. And of course he's up on intentionally kicking Darren Buick of Eston. I'll have more details of that case for you shortly.
Thanks for that, Rob. And Gary, you've got a footnote.
I just have a feeling the 1/52nd of the match payment, we haven't heard the end of that. I believe the players that have in the past been fined are banding together in this more
Supreme Court
militant day, Rohan. I think we haven't heard the last of it. I think that'll be challenged before too long.
Make sure you'll let us know, won't you?
I'm even more certain after tonight that we'll hear more about it with all these players going.
In fact, we'll hear more about it after the break because the boss, Wayne Jackson, is joining us and you can look him in the eye.
Well, yeah, have I got to stay?
You can hit him. We'll be back with Gary, Dermy, the best of the best, and then Wayne Jackson after the break.
These are our heroes. This is the song we sing. From Boston to Canada, watching her on the wing. This is devotion, and this is loyalty. These are our heroes. We can all dream to be. It's simple and it's right. I want my football every night. Nothing beats it, that's what I say. I want my football every day. I want my football
next act.
In the air, and that's it.
In the Ashes drama. Will Super Steve Waugh star again?
He goes to 102 and the second in this match.
Can Australia repeat their last performance in our live and exclusive first session coverage?
What a test series we have on our hands.
The 4th test. Thursday night live at 7:50 with the full day's replay along with highlights Friday from one only on Sports Australia 2, Channel 26.
And rookie Mark Porter gets us underway with this great tap this week to Craig Bradley. And what about the finish from Braddles?
For the rest of his career, he'll play a lot of games as Bradley just puts it straight through for the Blues.
And it wasn't all one-way traffic to him. Rick Ollerenshaw took this great mark.
And there was more from the Bombers also. Not a lot more, but this was more. This great running goal from Michael Pryor. Good spot up.
Yes, but it was Carlton's day and Sauce, didn't he just turn him inside out? The great Sauce.
As did Justin Murphy, and this is one of his 12 for the afternoon.
Worked out of it though by Daffy, off the ground by
Now, Buddha's 200th is one to save, or is this a great left foot snap?
Is that catch on the left foot?
Yeah, he can play well.
Tony Modra's next with this brilliant soccer goal. Not bad at him, he gets them pretty regularly, doesn't he?
Yeah, soccer background.
Good kick.
What a sensational goal!
Now, little Acker, I'm tipping that to Acker, man, I heard, yes. 2 bites and a great diving mark.
And one of the Crows, Baldy boys. There he is, Rod Jamo. That's a good catch.
Paul Kelly, I just wish he'd have a go, Paul Kelly. Give a tackle.
And Scotty Cummings, he's having a great time away from Windy Hill. There's another great snap over the shoulder against the Pies.
And David versus Goliath. Steve Lawrence lays out little Aussie Jones. He's a savage man.
But they couldn't keep little Aussie down. He bounced back and popped this one through.
He's having a shot from 45. Oh, don't tell me it's another one. It is.
Big Stewie had the buckets working beautifully. This one of the very best. Oh, good catch.
And goals don't get any better than this from North's nippy little rover, Peter Bell. Wrong-footed, had to go for the banana on the wrong foot. Fair kick, that one.
Dragged if he missed it. And finishing this week's Bob, I think that's best of the best. Clive Waterhouse's one-hander.
Didn't know he had it.
Yeah, beautiful gun.
To the serious stuff, and in PR terms, Wayne Jackson's first season at the helm of the AFL has been a good one. The divisive merger issue seems to have passed, and the less emotional one of grounds has been the nearest thing to an ongoing dilemma. Also on the agenda recently has been international promotion, but Wayne Jackson is back in town and joins us tonight. Now, Wayne, thanks for being with us firstly. Are you sorry there haven't been the really hard issues that made Ross Oakley's life so interesting over the last 10 years?
No, I'm not sorry at all, Tim, and probably because guys like Ross did do a lot of the hard yards, probably life's a fraction easier for the guys that follow.
You're getting nervous about September because the matchups at the start of the finals might make for some interesting decisions.
I don't think nervous is the right word, Tim. We're really all looking forward to the finals because, I mean, simply at this point in time, we don't know who's being played. If you're referring to where games are being played, I'm happy to chat about that. But it's been a wonderful season so far. Our attendance is at 12% up as of the end of this last just completed round, and we're hoping that will continue through and including the finals.
The likeliness of several teams, interstate teams, hosting home finals, is it a concern? I mean, it is wonderful for the game, but is it a concern, is it lost revenue, so to speak, because of the lesser crowd attracted to certain interstate venues?
Certainly the crowds are down, Dermot, but between us, we put the price up a little bit. If the ground...
Just between us and a couple of 100,000 people watching,
the price does go up for the smaller interstate grounds, so that the revenue is protected. We simply couldn't afford to be playing finals outside of Victoria consistently unless there was a reasonable return from the gate.
How do you get around the situation too, just quickly with... I mean, there's just such a bias when we look at the win-loss ratio of teams at home and away interstate. Is there anything that we can find a neutral territory almost? I mean, we adopt a lot of policies from the American gridiron football. Is there anything ever in the pipeline where there may be a neutral venue for finals?
Bill Docklands at Alice Springs or something like that?
Yeah, well, I mean,
Rockland.
That has a balance, but I've read with interest the Tony Shaw view of the last 24 hours and 2 interstate finals. I don't think people understand that a club like Port Adelaide, for example, has its home ground called Alberton Oval, and they do their training there, but they play their games at Football Park in Adelaide. And for the life of me, I can't see why that's any different than Collingwood training at Victoria Park and playing at the MCG. Indeed, I would argue that a club like Collingwood that plays at the MCG at least 11 times this year, and maybe more, has a decided advantage when the finals approach, because clubs like Port Power, for example, would have 1 or 2 games at most on the MC during the course of the year. And I think the other thing that Tony tends to overlook is that his club, Collingwood, has probably travelled interstate 6 times the year or thereabouts over a full season, whereas the clubs interstate are actually travelling at least 11 times during the year. So to even get in the finals, the Melbourne-based clubs have got a very decided advantage.
Now, we've come up with a theoretical 8. We're not suggesting it's going to finish like this, because it looks as though Geelong will be a fair bit higher than 7th.
Tell the people that's how it will happen, we know.
The interstate teams are currently in that order, and if it all finished that way, and you have to have 1 match in Melbourne on the first week, so that would obviously either involve Geelong or St Kilda. Would you put on Brisbane and Geelong, or would you put on Adelaide and St Kilda in Melbourne, bearing in mind that Port Adelaide would probably play West Coast at Football Park, which means rather than giving Adelaide 2 finals, you'd probably have the top team having to travel and play St Kilda at the MCG. It's going to get difficult, isn't it?
I'd like the advantage of the rest of my... were you wanting a serious answer to that?
Well,
I was happy to give it to you.
what we're getting at is that it's going to be very tricky,
I'd like the advantage of being with my colleagues on this, but because Adelaide finished top, they would obviously play in Adelaide. Brisbane and Geelong would play at the Gabba. Sydney and Fremantle would play at the SCG, and Port Adelaide and West Coast, because we are committed to playing at the MCG, would play at the MCG. So that would be...
you confer with that, your colleague here from the AFL?
So I think the middle 2, Port Adelaide and West Coast, would be committed to playing at the MCG because of our...
2 non-Victorian teams, even though the option was there of having a Victorian team playing in front of a...
We've got a commitment, Tim, it's now a 34-year contract to go to play a semi-final in Melbourne or a final in Melbourne of each week.
Yes, but wouldn't the logical thing to do would be to play a Victorian team in Melbourne?
Oh yes, the logical thing would be to do that, but the rules are there, and all of the clubs know that to play at your home ground you have to finish in a certain spot, and they also know that overriding that is our legal and contractual obligations.
So the top 2 teams would be sacrosanct. You wouldn't be able to prevent them having a home final.
No, I think that's right, Rohan. I think if there's 2 teams finishing 1 and 2 who are interstate, they would both play at their home ground.
What would Port Adelaide and West Coast draw on the first week of the finals?
Well, probably not much, but I mean, you do have contracts. That great southern stand, Tim, would not be there unless the AFL committed to playing a final there each week of the final and playing the grand final there. I mean, you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Are you a bit taken aback by Tony Shaw's comments? I mean, you're a very, obviously, from South Australia, a strong supporter of the national concept. I guess a lot of people in footy would have thought we would have moved past that thinking a bit.
Yeah, I'm certainly not taken back, Rohan, because I enjoy Tony and what he has to say about footy. I am surprised because I mean, I just don't understand how he could come to those conclusions. I'd like to correct you. I'm not from South Australia. I'm from the Principality of Jollymont, and absolutely neutral in all things footy.
I mean, the Crows?
I don't barrack for the Crows. My wife barracks for the Crows. But look, it's pretty interesting, this interstate business. I just wonder, and please don't all react, but I wonder what would happen if we moved the AFL to Canberra and got rid of so-called interstate clubs. I mean, we're a national competition. Why is everybody that resides out of Melbourne an interstate club?
I don't comprehend that. Wayne, coming from Victoria, I'm sorry.
Spend a little time with me tomorrow.
Part of the evolution, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is part of the evolution.
These are things that are hard to shed.
Yeah, and I think in 5 and 10 years' time we won't be thinking about some of the things that Tony's raised in the last 24 hours or so.
There's a little bit of a thorn in the side to future plans that Waverley has been drawing better than expected crowds this year.
I think it's really terrific, the work that Hawthorn's done in particular to get people down there. I think it'd be a brave man that would say it's the ground attracting people, Dermot, as distinct from the improved performance of the St Kilda Football Club and the Hawthorn Football Club. I think we ought to all understand that in an ideal world we probably wouldn't have to make the choices that we are faced with.
They're extraordinary figures, Wayne. 15 games this year at an average of 37,500 near enough, as opposed to 19,500 in 95 and just over 26 in 96. As you say, St Kilda are doing very well, but Hawthorn have been the success story, and they're 8 and 8. It's not as though they're back to their glory days.
No, I think they're terrific figures, and I probably wish that we didn't have to make a choice, but the AFL has had to decide whether to put $30 million from Waverley into either leaving it at Waverley in a stadium that is 30 years old, that requires substantial capital expenditure and maintenance, and it is in a rain belt, or would we rather have our $30 million in a stadium that we will own, Tim, at the Docklands, a $250 to $350 million stadium with no capital expenditure, with no maintenance, and arguably at the time it's completed, at which time Waverley will still be 30 years old, but at the time it's completed it will arguably be the best football stadium in the world. So we've had to make a choice, and whilst I've heard a lot of people say, well, look, we'd like to be at Waverley, I haven't heard one person say we would rather own Waverley than own Docklands, and that's the choice we've had to make.
But isn't the big problem going to be convincing the footy public? I think it's hard to argue that there's certainly a mood among the footy public that Waverley is the ground of the people, and the grounds like Optus Oval basically have overpriced seating that people don't want to use. How hard is it going to be for you, in light of what's happened with the two grounds this season, to convince people that Docklands is the way that seating at the footy should go?
Well, I think the only way, we may not ever convince them all, Rohan, but all we can try and do is to be open and frank and tell people the facts and why we arrive at particular decisions. But Waverley won't be a cheap ground when the capital expenditure has to be put into it, and when a new $5 million video screen has to be in, and when all the maintenance is done. You can't do that and keep the pricing at $12.50, which it is at the present time. Look, I don't want to be seen as coming across as absolutely anti-Waverley and absolutely pro-Docklands. I simply wanting you guys and the viewers to understand that this is about choice. And I wonder whether you think we've made the right choice or we've made the wrong choice.
I don't know, I can't quite decide at the moment, but I think Waverley is a very valid option for the footy public, that if you lose it, it just doesn't exist anymore. We won't know any footy other than reserve seat football, no going through the turnstiles for $12.50.
I think it's one option where people still have the option of going to the footy, guaranteed a seat, watch a game of footy and not have to fork out more than the entrance fee.
Well, that's true, but at Docklands you are guaranteed that there'll be 5,000 at $12.50 plus the family tickets. You are not guaranteed that 30,000 can get in there, Dermot, I agree.
We're going to have a break and we'll be back to continue our discussion with the AFL's Chief Executive, Wayne Jackson, shortly.
What are you talking about? It's always the guy before the girl. Look at Sonny and Cher.
Not always. There's Bonnie and Clyde.
Tarzan and Jane.
Venus and Adonis.
Bob and Blanche.
Ma and Pa Kettle.
Jack and Diane.
Morticia and Gomez.
Fred and Wilma!
Oh, you're kidding. Josie and the Pussycats.
No, you can't have them. Next you want Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah. Club night with Beauty and the Beast.
Please.
Don't miss it from 8 this Thursday following Footy Focus on Sports AFL.
Live and exclusive from golf's toughest pro circuit, superstars Norman and Faldo, along with the game's elite, battle from the greens of Ireland to the desert sands of Dubai. The European PGA Tour, only on Sports Australia, Channel 12.
Friday night netball exclusively live.
Well, she's been starring so far.
The world's #1 competitors in an exciting new look competition.
Oh, another nice goal.
Shooting it out for the prestigious Commonwealth Bank Trophy.
Sensational.
The Sydney Sandpipers clash live with the Melbourne Phoenix, followed by the Melbourne Kestrels taking on the Sydney Swifts. Friday night netball with the Commonwealth Bank Trophy, live from 7:30 Friday night, only on Sports Australia.
Saturday, 26 July at Madison Square Garden. Join David Bowie and friends to celebrate his 50th birthday. To order this very special main attraction event, phone 1300 300 666. David Bowie and friends, only with your Optus Vision.
A great champion and a misunderstood soul, the old Diesel. Now, August is going to be a huge month of sport on Sports Vision, and by popular request, Dermy and Gary are back to tell you all about the best of it.
Absolutely, too. Championship month from August the 2nd, the finest athletes in the world head to Athens for the World Athletics Championships, exclusive on Sports Australia 2.
Looking forward to that, as I am the baby boomers, taking on the best of the rest in the under-22 World Basketball Champs. That's live and exclusive coverage on ESPN on Channel 11 from August the 6th, Dermot.
Absolutely, and the Pan Pacific Championship brings together some of the greats of the swimming world. Gary, Scotty Miller's back, Olympic champion Susie O'Neill, all the action live on Sports Australia from August the 10th.
Yes, and that's enough, Dermot. Can we forget our anguish from the Olympic cycling velodrome? I certainly can't, and I hope we can redeem ourselves from August the 27th at the 5th World Championships in Perth.
And can anyone stop Gary Lyon and Manly's premiership push? 10 of the 12 clubs with a realistic chance of fighting for, well, a place in the Optus Cup. There's the boys hard at it.
Yes, and over to Warney and Steve Waugh, who are going to save the Ashes in August with the deciding 5th and 6th tests, exclusively live on Sports Australia 2, Channel 26.
Beautiful stuff. And the NFL returns in August. America's finest. Again, get down to hostilities, pre and regular season on ESPN. Channel 11 for us, guys.
Oh, time to spare. And my favourite game, netball, the National Championships coming to a conclusion. Melbourne Phoenix up against the Adelaide Thunderbirds, battling for the inaugural title, Commonwealth Bank Trophy, live and exclusive.
Didn't you excel in netball too? The AFL Premiership, one of the tightest in history. 13 clubs still with a chance of making the finals. In August, we find out with all the action who's going to go all the way with Sports AFL.
Yeah, and soccer's finest footy players return to Sports Australia and ESPN in August with live and exclusive games from England's Premier League. Manchester United, Dermot, my tip to overcome the likes of Newcastle United and Blackburn Rovers.
Beautiful, Gary.
You blokes are so good, I must get you to see if you can arrange to get the cable run through my street so I can enjoy some of this.
I'm in awe.
Yes, we'll stand back and enjoy.
Wayne Jackson is still with us through all of this uproarious behaviour. Where will we start? Just apropos of our discussion before the break, are we headed for an era where getting into the football is going to be a lot more expensive? For years we've been hearing that footy has to really squeeze every last dollar out of every component available to it.
Well, The prices are obviously going to go up, Tim. We're trying very hard to keep price increases contained to the rate of inflation or thereabouts, and therefore the real prices of footy shouldn't increase, and they shouldn't increase relative to any other sporting entertainment. But that's going to depend on the cost pressures put on us, and in that regard the movements of the players, etc., are crucial, as they are with umpires and administrative overheads. But yes, I think increasingly pricing of all professional sports will increase.
It's no great secret that American sport, which footy has taken a lot of ideas from, has priced blue-collar workers out of live attendance at games, pushed them into the pay TV arena and increased seating prices. Can you say categorically that footy isn't headed down the same path?
Well, I can almost say that, Rohan. What I can say to you is that we in the AFL and the Commission has long believed that participation at the footy, attendances at the footy, are very, very important to our game. And therefore we work hard on that, as well as the obvious return from the gates. Now, in some of the games we're seeing, I think on the weekend, Tim, for example, 40-odd thousand saw the Sydney game, and the parallel rugby league game in Sydney attracted 2,500 people, but in fact the count was 850 or thereabouts, according to a major article in this morning's paper in Sydney. So to go back to the point, we're very anxious and we work hard to get people to our game. Other games, some other sports, are not as concerned about that, and therefore we balance off, Rohan, attendances with pricing.
So you wouldn't accept a situation where we had the match of the day being played in front of a half-full Dockland Stadium and watched by hundreds of thousands of people on TV at home?
Well, the match of the day would probably be played at the MCG, number one. So taking the Docklands issue out of it, we would not be happy where our top games were played in less than the sort of attendances we're seeing at the present time.
So I wonder what the future of television's involvement with the game is. I mean, are we headed for a lot more pay TV? Because it is an issue between pay and free-to-air at the moment. We can't go too deeply into it, I gather, because it is subject to some sort of negotiation, possibly even in a courtroom. But do you see a whole lot more being on pay TV than there currently is?
Well, we're certainly moving in that direction, Tim. I don't know how far we'd go. I think we've got 22 games on pay TV this year, and I think we've planned for 35 next year. But there is a great sensitivity to the pay TV, the free-to-air, the balance of people going to our games, and we're heading towards, as you fellows know, pay-per-view. What role does the internet have in all of this over a longer period of time? It's a very detailed and complicated position that we'll find ourselves in, or are finding ourselves in, particularly as we head towards the year 2001, when the AFL television rights again come up.
Well, something that's emerged as an issue today, just one moment, Dermy, is the fact that on Saturday night, with the Bledisloe Cup match being played, Richmond's match in Adelaide won't be shown in full on Channel 7, that rugby and international, admittedly, is being given preference over the Indigenous code. Does that surprise you, disappoint you?
It does disappoint us. I've had a pretty angry Leon Daphne on the phone this afternoon, the Richmond president, and it is a very, very hard one, because the Bledisloe Cup wouldn't even be in Victoria or Melbourne at the MCG, I should be more accurate, if the AFL hadn't relinquished our rights to that particular day, but relinquished them we did. And as a result, arguably an international event is being played there, and Channel 7 in their commercial wisdom has elected to show that game direct, and as a result the Richmond people will not see all of their game against Adelaide. And yes, we're disappointed about that, and we certainly talk about it to Channel 7.
Would they have faced the same political pressure that the AFL obviously did?
I didn't say we faced political pressure, Tim. The Commission actually sat down and over quite a long period of time balanced up what was good for the state of Victoria, the city of Melbourne, the internationalisation, the PR that can be good for this state and this city, and balance that up against what was really in the best interest of AFL footy. And on this occasion we said, and I know you may not believe me, but on this occasion the Commission said, well, we'll do what's best for the City of Melbourne and the State of Victoria and support this international event. In truth, at that time, I don't think we really gave the attention that maybe we should have to the TV free-to-air implications. So that's the facts.
It's not just the Adelaide-Richmond game either, because Sydney Bulldogs is quite likely the best match of the round, and that's going to be played at, 4:40 in the afternoon, which is a...
Yeah, no, in truth, what we agreed, Rohan, was that we wouldn't play a significant game against in Melbourne against that event on that particular day. We're certainly playing them interstate, and we're playing a game on the Friday night and the Sunday.
Very community spirited, no political pressure. You just did all that out of a sense of magnanimity.
No, but there was no significant political pressure, and yes, we did do it out of what's in the best interest of this city.
Wayne, further to your words about slightly disappointed with how things have panned out with the coverage of next Saturday night's football. We see the free-to-air television coverage of football. I mean, are you happy with the progress they've made? I mean, this is our first year Optus Vision Sports AFL, and we've brought certain innovations in, and it's no secret that the free-to-air coverage has actually copied us in various aspects. It is your showcase, the game is your showpiece. Do you think they've progressed enough with it?
I think that's a pretty difficult, if not unfair question, Dermot, for you to ask.
I thought I'd load it a little bit.
For you to ask on this program, but
really, I mean, their coverage is the same for the last 20 years.
Let me generally say that we believe there is scope for our game to be better presented on television. I mean, there are technical opportunities to do that. There are other opportunities to do it. And I think we ought to leave it at that. I mean, any concerns we have, we obviously follow up with Channel 7, and I'm sure they would address them in due course.
Well, how much input would you have then? I mean, given that the fact that this programming of matches this weekend seems to indicate they have a fair say in the scheduling of matches, shouldn't you have a fair say in how they go about covering the game?
Well, I think I've just answered that, Rohan. We do have a fair say. We don't always agree, of course, and at the end of the day, both we and Channel 7 will make decisions that are in their best interest.
Well, as a footy fan viewing, say, the coverage of the game, how do you find it?
I think the footy on television is fantastic, but I've already said I believe there are ways it can be improved, and we certainly follow those up with Channel 7. I think the telecasting is terrific. I think you fellas have added a new dimension, and we will always be looking to improve it.
Just a few quick ones before we wrap it up. Wayne, Justin Madden's coming in shortly. Studio's not big enough for the two of you, given that you're at loggerheads at the moment, but any chance of super and long service leave for our footballers?
Look, I enjoyed lunch with Justin and his wife Julie and their two children on Saturday, and I'm just amazed that that same man could come out with the nonsense that I saw in this morning's paper.
You saw it yesterday Sunday Age, Wayne.
Firstly, let me make the point that the AFL doesn't pay players' wages, the clubs do.
But you have to sign a contract to play in there.
And you do have to sign a contract to play. Two, I would like to see people with an enormous skill like Justin really apply their mind to how we can grow the size of this cake so that the players can get paid more, but also so that we can develop the game more, improve the facilities, keep the prices low, which we just spent 5 minutes talking about. But what worries me every time Justin has something to say publicly, it's about please pay the players today more money. We want a bigger share of that bite. Quite frankly, I think the players today are being pretty well rewarded. I'm not saying we don't want to reward them more, but they're being pretty well rewarded, and I think some of the energies of some of the players, not all, should be directed towards growing our game and leaving something for the kids of the future rather than taking a great big bite, a bigger bite than they've already got out of what is a finite-sized cake.
Just philosophically, though, I mean, if we're as close as people claim we are to a full-time sport now and the majority of the players are full-time, isn't it hard to refute that we should have the same workplace arrangements as other people's job situations?
Well, I'm glad you said that, Rohan, because increasingly in this country it's not about unions and awards, it's about striking individual agreements with your employers, and I think all the players would be better off. I think the clubs would be better off, and we'd all be better off if each player negotiated his position with the club, as I presumed Justin would have done at Carlton. You can't then come back and say, look, I've played for 3 years, I was very happy to play for these, it wouldn't be 3 years because long service leave comes in after 10.
So you wouldn't impose any restrictive conditions like salary caps in that environment? Just leave it to clubs to pay players as much as...
If there weren't salary caps, Tim, and if there wasn't a draft, we would have 1 or 2 clubs absolutely dominating the competition, and we'd have a half a dozen or maybe 20 players being paid the world, but we'd have 640 players struggling.
But you can't argue that it's just between player and club when the central administration imposes a cap on the salary, surely.
I don't think it's just between player and club, but I was just making the point that the employee is in fact the club. I mean, the headline said this will cost AFL millions. I think there's a couple of other interesting points. When you are entitled to long service leave, you don't get paid long service leave, you actually take it. And I wonder what will happen when somebody says to one of these players after 10 years, well, you've now accrued 13 weeks long service leave and we'd like you to take it. I think it's all about getting more money, and that takes me back to the point that we support strongly the players being adequately rewarded and more highly rewarded than they are now, but it's got to come from growing the size of the cake, not a few players getting the extra big bite.
Just quickly, I'd be happy to take my long service leave from about December through to middle of February, and I'll be back.
Yeah, and I understand it, Gary, and you wouldn't do it because you'd be training, and I just wonder when players who come up, and Peter Jess, who seems to be the spokesman on most things AFL, when he'd recommend that long service leave be taken.
Now, we're nearly out of time, and we almost missed the opportunity to ask you this, but the Matthew Richardson and David Schwartz incidents that we saw earlier, are they something you'll have to have a look at?
Yeah, look, I agree with I was lucky enough to hear what you chappies were talking about. Firstly, Matthew Richardson, I mean, that lad, the Geelong fellow, should be ashamed of himself. The Geelong Football Club must provide better facilities for players going down the race, and Matthew Richardson should be disciplined enough not to respond to it. That would be my view on that one.
So, but he wasn't, so do you respond?
I personally don't think that any real damage was done there. It had the potential to be ugly, which is why I think the facilities should be improved. But I think Matthew was pretty restrained, but he made a mistake in going back, and I don't know that there's any major issue there from an AFL viewpoint, other than let's put the measures in place so it can't happen again.
Are you surprised they didn't do that, given that it's such a new facility down there anyway?
No, in fairness to the Geelong Football Club, they are looking for some support to upgrade the ground, and I guess that will be part of it.
And David Schwartz, will you have a look at the direction of the missile?
Well, I was lucky enough not to see the missile. I think it's possible, but I didn't actually see it.
We used to call the Geelong race the shower. It's notorious for getting the missiles coming over the edge there.
Wayne, thanks for joining us. Been good to have you on the show.
Well, it's been nice to be here, Tim. I'd just like to have the right to come back after Justin's had his say following me.
The studio will be empty, but you can come back.
In a moments of seriousness, putting aside the positioning of Justin on this issue or any others, the lad has been a fantastic ornament to our game, and we at the AFL are already talking about and thinking about how we can recognise his contribution, and indeed those of any other major players, and I shouldn't say major players, senior, older players that retired later in the year. So he leaves our game, I think, in fantastic shape. He's been part of it, and we really do wish him all the best. As a final word, I said to him on Saturday, we've got about 4 jobs lined up for him to do for us at the AFL, but they're all honorary, and I don't think he's expressing a lot of interest in them.
Well spoken. Thanks for being with us, Wayne.
Thank you.
And a lot to look forward to still on tonight's football feedback. Justin Madden still to come, and we'll have more after the break.
Cows, what can I get you?
Never mind that, Ron. Did you know that we've got Ian Collins from the AFL, you know, your mate Collo, as a regular guest on our show?
Yeah, now, a drink?
No, and we'll be the first TV show with the selected teams for the weekend's games.
Maybe a beer.
And we'll cross live to club training for all the news on injury and form.
Are you going to order a drink or not?
Don't think so, Ron.
Paying customers only.
Footy Focus, 6:30 Thursday on Sports AFL.
For every amazing moment captured on film, there is a memory. Live the moments on the Movie Network. We bring the movies and the moments to you only on the Movie Network.
.200 great and ferocious games from Gary Hocking. It was a great day for him and the Cats at Cardinia Park. Also a great day for St Kilda at Waverley, dishing out a 79-point hiding to the Hawks, and it looks as though Daryl Wakelin might be filling that Achilles spot at centre-half back, Derby.
Yeah, well, he stepped up a little bit on the weekend. He's still got a way to go. He was against an undermanned half-forward line, I suppose, for Hawthorn. Mark Graham dropped in there. He was probably the best centre-half-forward they played for the day, but he's a fringe centre-half-forward, a running centre-half-forward, and yeah, he played against fresh air on a few occasions. They left him as the loose man down there. But yeah, he stepped up, he did better.
If he can, really, it's the one spot where I think they're a bit vulnerable, and if he can at least break even, then their chances of going further increase dramatically.
Has he got enough size?
I think he has. I think he's
enough.
a bit deceptive, really.
He's tall enough. I don't know if he's quite bodily heavy enough to match it with, I know Lowe's on his side, but the likes there of the big centre-half forwards.
Well, Neil Baum caught up with him today. At least we think it was Daryl and not Shane. Barmy assured us that it was, and here's what the Saints centre-half back had to say.
Yeah, probably we haven't had, I mean, I've been here 2 years now, this is my third year, and we've never had anyone really consistently playing good footy back there. You know, we've had blokes who have been able to stop for a number of games, but never been able to rack up many possessions themselves. And I mean, I'm not a big possession getter myself, but starting to rack up a few more, and hopefully over the next few weeks I'll be able to get that up. But the last 3 weeks have been good, and I just hope I can keep doing my job over the next, few months.
I noticed that three-quarter time Stan gave you a little bit of attention there. What was the strength of that?
A few words. I mean, he was probably a bit excited at the time. I mean, we were probably 10 goal up, but nonetheless, we've got to keep doing the same job as we've been doing all day. And I was actually probably a loose man in defence, and Youngie was back on. Matty Young was back on. I think it was Graham. Graham come up, and I sort of ran into the centre, and I probably should have stayed back on Graham with Youngie kick behind, but he told me I was out kick chasing, that to tighten up and do my job.
Shocker for the Hawks, no Holland, no Hawthorn.
Yeah, well, he's not worth 79 points, but he sure would have given them a bit of hope up to the first half, the half-time break. Just a target to kick to, but they got killed out of the centre. He did well, Wakelin. Sirakowski's the bigger body on him, but than him is Ken Judge on the day.
How will he be coping with this? We got up close and personal with Judgy on Saturday.
Yeah, there he is. he's at a loss to work out what's going on out there.
There's certainly never been a coach that shows as much visible pain on his face as that, is it? It's like excruciating.
Look at him there. He's got that. He's getting the Abby Jeans vein in the side of the neck too.
Is there any chance after a little while it becomes a bit too much, or you can just tune off? I reckon.
Peter Sherwin got very interested in what was going on there.
Yeah, big.
Thanks very much. Goodbye, Peter Sherwin, I reckon, from the coach's box.
Yeah, no, it was a bit that way in the end. It was very, very obvious that the Hawks weren't going to win from an early stage.
Here's Brisbane and Michael Voss, Brownlow medalist, back in form.
Yes, his start to the year was not so much disappointing, but it was almost conspicuous by the fact that he wasn't in the best 2 or 3 for them each week, as we come to expect, but his last 2 weeks have been sensational, and I didn't see this game, but from all reports it was back to his vintage best.
Do you reckon we've underestimated the importance of Clark, Lambert, Voss and Fletcher as a quartet? I mean, it's got to be the best centre-square combination in the league when they're all in form.
Close to. Lambert goes to ground a fair bit, but what he does, he's still able to get his hand on the ball and feed out the ball via handball from a kneeling position very frequently. So he's vital for the likes of Voss, who is capable of keeping his feet in a pack situation.
It's no coincidence that Fletcher and Voss were both pretty quiet early in the year, and their resurgence has coincided with Brisbane's. You know, I think they would have been singing the song at the end of the night.
No doubt about Dennis Pagan. He loves a bit of a sing-song, and he got right into it, except when it came to the last line of the song.
I've got a theory on that one. It's that he didn't want to be embarrassed by singing a line that patently didn't rhyme with the previous line. Now, it was okay when they say we'll be premiers in 1993, but since then it's just had a limp ending.
I have another theory. He was a bit worried that John Northey would have been watching, and he would have pulled that out and used that in the us against them conspiracy.
I think you're probably right.
The song was a little bit flat from the boys, and it's no secret that when you come in after a game, the coach speaks to you, tells you what happens during the game, and then you go and sing the song. I reckon he gave them a little bit of a payout before they went out to sing.
What about the first verse of the North song, though, where they talk about lots of fun, heaps of fun, enjoy yourself today?
You do an expose on team songs,
that is certainly the most quaint in league football. And when I heard him singing heaps of fun, enjoy yourself today after the grand final, I just
for recreation's sake.
Just for recreation's
sake. Words by D.
Pagan.
Pagan. Here's Donald Dickey with an Adam Huskus type haircut.
Yeah, lightning. Donald Dickey, he's put the lightning in the side of the head there.
Actually, we have every little clip we show has a name on our rundown, and that one's called Dickey Hair.
Dickey Knee's brother, Dickey Hair.
He's a good player though, don't make any mistake about that.
Now, we sometimes take cameras to post-match press conferences and so on, but we found the place where people really say something. It's at President's lunches, and Port Adelaide's assistant coach Mark Williams addressed the VIPs at the dinner, in fact, before the night game between Port Power and Collingwood, and he had a few interesting thoughts on the Collingwood lineup and the way they play the game.
Collingwood have lost 6 of the last 7 games. They're the second shortest kicking side in the AFL, which means if you kick short, there's a fair chance you'll get a chance to get the ball back, and they have the second most kick clangers, which means they kick the ball to the opposition the second most time in the league, and they also handball the ball to the second most time. So again, our players are now made aware of that, put a lot of pressure on their players, and we hope that they'll turn over the ball. And Paul Williams is an interesting one. He has 43 ineffective kicks and 19 kick clangers. So, you know, even though Paul is getting a hell of a lot of the ball and rated as one of the stars of the AFL, when you do put pressure on him, you can see that they do turn over the ball.
I can just imagine all the cameras and sound men and reporters heading off to the President's lunches now after that, if they're always like that.
I just want to work clanger into a footy story sometime in the next couple of weeks. It's the word of the football season, clanger.
I reckon that's a good marketing ploy to have somebody down there. I forget what he actually said in the clangers. I don't agree with that terminology. I understand what they are. I'd prefer a different word, of balls up or whatever it could be. Yeah, mistake would be a good one. But if you've got high paying guests who pay their corporate dollar to come along, if you have the assistant coach down there, now he's given them an insight to the game, which really was a very, very good interview. It's going to make these people say, come along next week, we'll hear what our boys are going to endeavour to do. I think that's very good marketing by the club.
Now, Rohan, Tony Shaw had a response to Collingwood's pretty poor performance.
Yeah, well, watching the Port Collingwood game on Saturday night, and Lee Matthews was certainly very critical of Collingwood's defence, and in particular, forwards, and in particular person or persons who were supposed to be picking up Adam Huskis, who basically ran amok all night. Now, we had Shawry on our 3AW footy preview segment yesterday, and we dared ask the question, well, your predecessor made the comment, what do you think? And we got a fairly animated response from him, I've got to say, and let's have a listen to it.
Well, let me tell you, this is a total lack of discipline.
Yeah.
From the beginning to the end, and I would like to say that, you know, we sent messages out to the players involved in that situation, and, you know, it was a total lack of discipline, which I must say in my time at Collingwood, we haven't had a problem like that, but there was no doubt that was a problem which, you know, was communicated, and you know, I like to check with our runners and things after the game, but that was communicated to a number of players, and really I think under the pressure of the game, some of those players, you know, went kick chasing.
Pretty frustrating second season for Tony Shaw. It promised a lot when they were 6-2.
Yeah, they were very good. As I said, they're very good bullies, Collingwood. When they get on top, they give it to the opposition, but look, if another team gets close, they've been falling apart in the last 2 months, haven't they?
It's a really similar pattern to like last year. I mean, they started very well and fell in a hole again in the middle. Is it something about the way they prepare it all, or do you think?
I don't think so. They had a fairly good run as to their opponents, and even though they got a few games under their belt and their confidence was sky high, a couple of games, the Western Bulldogs, they caught them with Chris Grant's 1 week suspension too. They beat them by 40, 50 points, but I'm not saying one player is worth that amount. But in the context of the game, while there's the period still there of the game to be won, he could be the difference at that point in time of 2-3 goals.
We'll pause for a moment. It'll be nostalgia time after the break when Justin Madden joins us.
And the other half-time scores, Grimsby, nil, Moulsley, nil.
The game where the odd goal gets scored.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
The flag never leaving Melbourne.
We'd love to see that!
Yeah. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Sky News Australia. You won't miss a thing. Live Amy Cup Rugby, only on Sports Australia. Why do they race? They race for glory. They race for passion. But most of all, they race for the checkered flag. Checkered flag, only on Sports Australia, Channel 12.
Welcome back. In an era in which characters were said to be as extinct as dinosaurs, football has continued to boast one of each for the last 332 games. On Saturday, it farewelled him. Justin Madden joins us tonight for one last media hurrah. Now, you're not about to do a Dean Jones and decide to throw your hat back into the ring, are you?
No, absolutely no way. There's no possible way that anybody would put up with me for any longer, I think.
Was it emotional for you on Saturday?
Oh, yes, it was. It was a great day. It was a marvellous occasion. I didn't think it would be that emotional, actually, but it was.
You're kidding, are you? No chance of actually getting in your gear and running away.
No possible.
Which was considerably similar to age,
thank you very
as you
much
could
for
tell.
that, Derby, thank you.
Who are the drivers, Harry?
They're from the people who supplied the cars, and I should...
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Yes, that's right.
I actually thought that was Pope John Paul II in the front seat there, but actually that was considerably earlier than that shot.
Yeah, well, it was very emotional, particularly because it's the first time I've ever been on the MCG and have everybody say nice things about you, of course, because the Essendon supporters were quite supportive, although I did notice one fella lean up and say, "Well done, Simon."
They just bagged their own players.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Harry, you do put on this facade that you are very laid back and you can take it or leave it, but obviously this is a pretty moving day.
Oh, that was a great day. It was fantastic. It was great to be able to share it with the kids, and I think they were a bit overawed by it all, but I'm sure it'll mean something to them later in life. My daughter has been to the football once or twice before, so she was a bit worried about running over the footballers when I said we were going in a car. and my son hasn't really been to the football before, so now he'll expect this every game, I think. So that's what worries me.
And David Parkin, you gave him a jumper after Carlton were eliminated in 1994. He looked as though he genuinely shared in the moment.
Yes, yeah, he did. He's been very supportive all week, and I think he's been more emotional than I have, really. I mean, I've seen this coming for some time, of course, and been quite relieved to do it. But I think he was a little bit sad that, eventually I had to go.
Mate, the watch on the wrist, can you tell us the brand? Did you get that swatch?
That's my father's old watch. I was hoping to get one of those off the club, actually. As the quote goes, I was hoping for a Rolex, but I think I got a swatch in there.
How'd you go?
No, there was none of that. There was a bit of toing and froing. There was a bit of toing and froing, but it was more about making sure that I was getting probably what I hadn't already got, by leaving.
Service leave?
No, not yet. But that was sort of just a bit of toing and froing about that, and clarifying how we stood in terms of a contract. I mean, if we're both obliged to fulfil it, then you don't want to renege and find that you're out of pocket substantially.
You said it's your father's watch. We might just talk family for a moment.
Yes.
Outside the MCG on Saturday, there were even people looking like Maddens.
$1 a sausage. All proceeds for the Children's Hospital. Won't get a better deal all day.
Maddo, quick.
Quick, whoa.
Can you look at that face there? And do you recognise that face at all?
This one here. This one here?
Yep.
No, I don't.
Take a good hard look at it and think of today's match.
No.
Does that tipple mean anything?
Got to be a Madden. Got to say that I'm sick of seeing his face this week. Every time I turn the TV on, his head's on.
So, would you say that you're sad to see his career end or glad?
No, I'm quite sad. He's done very, very well, and he's the first to admit for an average footballer he's done very well for himself. Look, I'm raising money for the Royal Children's Hospital today. So.
You only had to play 10 games and they would have played 720 between the lot of you.
That's the old man. That's Brother Paul.
That's right, Brother Paul. He's the oldest. They said he was the most talented of the three of us. But he was keen to fulfil his ambition as a musician, and he did a bit of that, but didn't play much football afterwards, of course. But no, he's enjoyed Simon and I playing a lot of football, I think, too. He's got a lot of satisfaction out of it.
And he could play a bit?
Oh, he could play a bit, yeah. I think he had a little bit more heart than Simon and I did. So it probably cost him in the end, I think.
What can you say to some of Wayne Jackson's comments about yourself and your requests? It was on earlier.
Yes. Yeah, well, Wayne should expect that, of course I'm going to make a parting shot at the AFL, as I think I did when I received my life membership of the AFL. You can't teach an old dog new tricks here, and you can't expect me to go out saying nice things about everybody in the football business, so I'm just going to get that one last cheap shot, I suppose.
Harry, as an older player myself, nearing the end of my time, how realistic is the request for...
Well, I tell you what, it's very funny that, it got that coverage on the front of the paper yesterday, but there have been a few old players ring me up in the last 24 hours. So, I mean, the potential, there is potential there, I suppose, but it's more a statement about how, the league needs to probably consider players as stakeholders and continuing that endeavour to have that reinforced and make sure that that as those new events like the paid television and the structures change like that, that the players are considered appropriately and accordingly, and you know, it's more of a chance for me to have a dig at the league in the process, I suppose.
Is the Players Association as strong now as it's been? I mean, there seems to have been a real surge of interest among the players, certainly for executive spots and what have
Yes,
you.
I mean, it's been interesting, and it will be interesting to see how that pans out in the next few days, but I think as the associations gain greater support and greater momentum, now that we have members from all clubs, and I think we have something like a 99.9% membership or something, and it's voluntary, it's not a compulsory association, that players are more aware of it, what it can achieve, and that there are some big issues looming on the horizon, like the paid television and bringing the players in line with maybe some of the I suppose the relationships that exist overseas in terms of major leagues there, particularly the English Soccer League, I think, and the paid television distribution there, and how if you're going to use models based on overseas countries' competitions, then maybe those player association models that they have set also may bear some reference to us, and I think that has gained some momentum in the last few years as well.
There's still a little way to go though, because if the players really realised how powerful they could be, I get a feeling they'd embrace it even more readily.
Well, I think so, but at the same time, and I've always been at pains to say this, is that you learn by those things as well, and I think a lot of those player associations overseas have made some significant errors, and I mean it's easy to say that if you're standing back here doing, but made some significant errors in that they've put a lot of their supporters offside. You know, you can't put the general public offside, and as Wayne has suggested, you've got to grow the cake, and I think, unfortunately for, I think the baseball and the footballers in America at stages, they have lost the support of the public because they became far too militant, and I think we've always been aware of that and maybe left ourselves open to criticism from our own members because of that, but we want to make sure that what we do is not only in the interests of the players and the game, but also in the interests of the general public as well.
Harry, what about the boy who came in and took your, well, filled some shoes, not exactly yours over this year, but young Porter?
No, he's a good fella. He's a really solid guy. He's...
what about this?
He's not bad, yeah. He's got some good hands, particularly when it comes to his ruck work. Yeah. And I noticed that very early in the season at the pre-season training camp, and I suggested to the coach that he should draft him, and the coach suggested that it might be he or I, so I shut up very quickly, of course.
You think Matthew Allen might have been sitting there in the stand just getting a little bit nervous as
well, I think he may well have.
What about David Allison? Do you think he would have got a little nervous?
Yeah, that's right, I think so. But I mean, one of the interesting decisions that the club will have to make in terms of Porter and Allen is that Porter may not have gained as many kicks as you might want a ruckman to, but his ruck work was fantastic, whereas...
Is that his strength in the centre circle?
It is. It's his big strength, but his marking is all right. It's developing and getting better, but I suppose that's a decision you've got to make. Do you have a ruckman who gets 27 hit-outs and 9 possessions, or do you have a ruckman that gets 17, 14 hit-outs and 17 possessions?
So did you think at the start of the year he was capable of a performance like that?
No, I saw him ruck in one of our pre-season matches and thought, you know, he is a very talented...
And you were still happy to deny him a spot on the list? And...
No, I didn't think I was actually denying him. I thought it was just a matter of time before he took that position. But I suppose one of the nice things was that in retiring is it's nice to see a young bloke step into a position and fulfil the expectation placed on him by the club, rather than have, you know, a dramatic entrance and have him disappointed and everyone else disappointed. So it was great to see that.
Having said that, the tough gig's for him to back up again next week, I think.
Yeah, I think it was a very emotional day for the club and a lot of excitement, but I think he's not only is he a good fella, he's got a very strong character, so I think he will back that up.
It's only Corey McKernan, he'll take care of him, no problems. We caught up with the overnight sensation today for a quick word from him about his feelings on the occasion.
Oh, you know, I was a bit nervous. Yeah, but it went all right. I don't know about one of the great all-time debuts, but and I was quite happy.
Well, 27 tap-outs, first game of the ruck in senior footy, and the ball just seemed to go to the right spot at the right time for you.
Oh, well, I guess we tried to work it out with the Rovers, and yeah, Braddles and Diesel made me look pretty good.
From Justin's point of view, is he a guy that gave you any advice? Was he perhaps an idol of yours as a young bloke?
He wasn't actually an idol of mine, but since I've been down at the club, you know, it's been fantastic. You know, give me quite a few pointers and that. Yeah, it's been great.
He almost laughed when he said he wasn't an idol.
Well, it'd be hard to imagine any young ruckman using me as an idol, really.
Did any young ruckman ever tell you that you were his idol?
No, I don't think they have, and I'm still worried.
Oh, beautiful. In all seriousness, we've got to get down to the tribunal for a further bulletin from Rob Gaylard.
Yes, well, it's not good news. While Harry's in there, his teammate Ron DiIulio, who was up on a intentionally kicking charge against Essendon's Darren Buick, has found the wrath of the tribunal, Mr. Busy, and has copped 4 weeks. And I can tell you that he was a very, very shattered man, as was Col Kinnear, as they left the tribunal tonight. In evidence, even the umpire's advocate said there's a fine line between tripping and kicking. We all thought that perhaps the charge might have been thrown out if Mr. Busy would have then said, well, look, you're lucky that you went up on another charge. But 4 weeks, pretty harsh for Ron DiIulio, and has done it pretty hard. So it's been an interesting night down here at the tribunal.
Thanks for that, Rob. Harry, you can say what you like now.
I can say it all now. Yeah, I didn't think of that. I've always been fairly diplomatic when it came to the tribunal, because you never know when you've got to step in there again. Yeah, I think one of the difficulties is with the tribunal is that players, from this point of view, we haven't necessarily seen the details of all that, but it's difficult because players aren't sure what they're going to get when they go in, and whether they're going to be found guilty, and if they are, what they're going to receive. And I think it wouldn't hurt the tribunal to back some of their judgments up, or their whatever
penalties.
Yeah, the penalties. Yeah, whatever they hand over in terms of penalty, to back it up with some sort of explanation, just like a judge does in a court decision as to why he would sentence somebody to a lesser sentence or a greater sentence, and that might actually clarify people's, and particularly the media's, understanding of why they've made that decision.
Oh, it's pretty important with these. I mean, this is a bit like Peter Dean's, and
that's a shocker.
At least it's consistent with the Peter Dean outcome, but there was no hope of that causing any injury, was there?
And the thing that gets me about that is it was pure reflex. I mean, he's thrown him out in a reflex action. There's no malice or anything. I think 4's just way over the top.
Gary Hocking's looking at similar fate if he gets on trial by video for trapping the ball in the same fashion, I think, as somebody had to run into him. I reckon that's disgraceful. That's ordinary.
But that might be where they need to say, well, we're using this to say to players, don't do it because you're going to cause significant injury if contact's made significantly. But there needs to be just a little bit more, rather than just a sort of a very wide or broad.
I agree with you, Harry. I would have liked to have known on the 16 occasions I walked away from there with the positive verdict. Yeah,
well, I think that was pretty obvious. It was just the rough head they were trying to...
Thanks, mate.
10 stitches in the back of mine would have explained it on one particular occasion.
Yeah, but I had at least on my side, you deserved it.
Justin, tremendous achievement by John Elliott to win the Madden Cup single-handedly at the MCG on Saturday.
That's right, yes. It's remarkable, isn't it? I think it's somebody's cruel sense of humour to make sure that I go back to the football at least one or two games a year.
In between parliamentary duties.
Thanks very much, Gav.
He's a shrinking violet, Big Jack, isn't he?
Yes, absolutely. He's bigger and better in real life than he appears on television or in the media. He's just a caricature of himself, I think, after a while.
Well, he's not much bigger in real life than he was, I have to say, on a rival radio station, 3AW, at the weekend.
Should you get a pasting today and drop out of finals,
it won't make any difference to the coaching of the Carlton football.
What are you doing? What are you going to do now?
Smoke.
In here?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Well, hang on a minute, just before you light... Well, what about asking us? Don't worry about the bloody MCG. What about people who don't like to have smoke blown over their clothes and don't enjoy passive smoking?
You know, it's one of the rules. If you want me on the radio, I've got to be able to have a smoke.
He's got two. He's
Where's the ashtray anyway?
He's got two in his mouth.
Why are you still smoking as a matter of interest?
Because I'm addicted.
I thought you were going to say you're addicted.
Addicted.
Dick Ted. Oh, sorry. Why? Yeah, but you know,
you are a serious interview. Before I came on, you had two dogs barking at each other on the radio.
You are a
This is not much better.
Well, you're at political odds. You're different sorts of human beings, and yet you do seem to be quite fond of him. You even wrote a chapter about him, didn't you?
That's right, yes. Oh, no, we get on very well. He's been incredibly supportive of me over the years. And I think every now and then, when I was struggling, he, used to prod the match committee and say, put the old fella in, and for some reason I'd get back in. But he's been great over the years.
Do you think that support might end if you sort of take up residence in the ALP seat of Tullamarine?
I think that might have been a good reason for me to retire once I'd made those intentions known. But I think Jack's still very supportive, and he's said publicly that he thinks anybody who joins a political party thinks it's a good thing, regardless of the party, because it means you want to contribute to the community.
Harry, he might be looking for an easy win out in the Tullamarine seat. Sorry, mate. Good luck.
See, I'm 3-0 on Saturday. We had a bit of fun asking you all the cliched questions that we ask people when they retire. There's one I realised I didn't ask you. Are you keen to coach?
Keen to coach. I've said on a number of occasions, I think you have to have a psychological flaw in your makeup to want to coach.
I'd be mad.
Yeah, basically. That's a nice way of saying it. And no, I don't think I'd ever want to coach, although there's something that appeals to me about maybe locking 21 grown men in a room and saying anything you want to them and not have them contradict it.
We'll just have a look at the form ladder before we farewell Justin. This is how they've performed over the last 4 weeks. And Brisbane have taken over on top because I think apart from having a better percentage, they've actually extended theirs to 5. Geelong unbeaten over 4, and the Cats continue to do well. Sydney playing pretty consistently. And then St Kilda followed by Essendon, would you believe, because there are a lot of teams with just 2 wins. Your boys are going pretty well, Rohan.
Yeah, we're great. I mean, the form premiership's looking a Monty for the Bombers at this stage of the year.
Rohan, where do we get the memberships to the Peter Somerville fan club?
Somewhere in Moe, I think that's where he comes from.
The unfortunate thing about your form ladder position at the moment, you've gone win-win, loss-loss. Even with a win next week, your form ladder's going to be 2 wins and a loss still, what it is already.
Do you think that could be a flaw in the form ladder?
Oh, I don't know about that.
No, it could be a flaw with the Essendon Football Club, mate.
Form ladder has no flaws. Will you go along and watch the Blues and feel or the Bombers and feel an emotional attachment?
Oh, I'm sure I'll have some emotional attachment, but I'd prefer to stay at home and mow the lawns for a long time and get used to that feeling or get tired of it before I venture near a football ground again, Tim.
Well, good luck with those lawns, Justin.
Thank you very much.
And with the career, politics or whatever else.
Thank you.
Thanks for being with us again, and well played.
Thanks.
Footy Focus coming up on Thursday night at 6:30 with Ian Cover, Ron Barassi, Ian Collins and Mark Harvey. And that's not all. The AFL Wrap live on Sunday night. Barmy's Wrap with Rob Gaylard at 7:30.
They're back.
Always great value. And the live and exclusive at the weekend, Collingwood and Melbourne. Dermy?
Yes, we're there with Pete Donegan, Barmy and Craig Kelly.
Not Sports A, it's Sports Melbourne Football Club.
A couple of big bookends on the end of the ground there with Barmy and Kelly at either end. Us blokes in the middle will actually go up about 4 foot in the commentary box.
So this is very good training for you when you take over the job next year, isn't it? What's that, 5 Melbourne games in a row?
Oh, don't be
sorry.
No, I'm nowhere near it, Gaz.
Well, if you do, can you let me know? Because I'm just going to go around and apply for all your media jobs. I know you'll flick me straight away. Whip in behind you.
Gary, eat those pies, but make sure they're patties, won't you?
I will, mate, indeed.
Thanks for being with us, fellas, and thanks for being with us, viewers. And for now, good night.
This has been a Sports AFL production.